Hello, everybody. Nope, it's not Alan B. Smith tonight for Paranormal Now. This is Carol Carl. He's asked me to stand by for him, and that's what I'm doing. He also gave me choices of the guest, and my first choice was absolutely none other than Chase Kloetzke. She's right here with us right now. We're going to kind of step outside the box as we read her bio. She'll jump in, make corrections, additions. So what do you say, Chase?
I'm just so happy to be here. I'm on KGRA with you, Carol, which is such a treat, and I'm really looking forward to the next couple hours.
Oh, me too. This is just delightful. So I have to say it, the chase is on.
Right?
All righty. All right. So, okay, well, let's start at the very beginning. Here comes the bio. And this is a new bio, right? This is like last couple of weeks or so?
It is. I actually had a chance. GoDaddy came out and said, hey, you're on an old program and we're going to charge you another $350. And I'm like, wait, what?
What? Exactly.
It was time to redo it. But there were a lot of reasons and a lot of people telling me it needed to be updated. And so I took the opportunity. Absolutely.
All right, well, let's put it out there. It begins as an active leader in UFO and ancient artifacts investigations. Chase Kloetzke employs a diverse set of skills and professional techniques known as the gold standards. Her work includes admissible inquiry, proper case management, and scientific conclusions. Schooled and certified as a former private investigator, Chase consistently demonstrates the knowledge, technical requirements, legal parameters, and commitment to evidence-based investigations. Tell us about that former private investigator thing, the former part.
Well, it was a school I had taken, and for private investigator, it was actually the first time I lived here in Virginia, and it was Waldron Corporation down in Chesapeake, and I certified, passed the test, even became a security guard, believe it or not.
Oh, my gosh. I can see you in that uniform. Oh, my gosh.
But I've never done that. Okay. I really took it for the skill sets to help me become a better investigator, because at that point, there weren't a lot of classes to teach you how to do this. And so I thought that was one of the better opportunities. So I never really worked in the capacity of a private investigator, but absolutely carried a badge and the ID because I was certified and licensed to. So I did that for a little bit, but never worked in the capacity. So, of course, it's former because that certification's also expired.
Right.
What I did leave out of my bio was my past work history. One, it seems to attract some drama. And two, I don't know anyone else out here that's putting their whole work history on their bio for UFO investigations. They're not telling us where they're working at the time, where they worked 16 years ago. So I kind of left it out, but I was a former master trainer, master instructor for the Department of Defense, and absolutely worked with special teams, special operators, active duty, even civilian, and Homeland Security, designing specialized programs for force readiness. So, but I did take that out. It seemed to be something that no one else was doing. So but it did serve a purpose at first, Carol, because had I not come clean that I was a former DOD employee, people would have seen that as I was keeping it a secret. So
right, and go ahead.
I was just going to add that it's out there, people know about it, and it's time to just not even bother with it. What I'd like people to know is what qualifies me to be a good paranormal and UFO investigator.
Exactly. And you had the, shall we say, real world forensic training to do that. That is so cool. Yeah, I know sometimes if something is excluded, oh boy, here come the conspiracy theorists, like, aha, you see, she didn't, yes, etc. Yeah, which I'm sure you're well aware of that. Well, the bio goes on. She holds a tested certification, international forensic and evidence collections, holding membership and the credentials of CPES. Would you clarify CPES?
This is a certification for custody and basically protocols of all forensic evidence. And this is something I'm very proud of because, one, it's international, so I can work anywhere in the world and know the protocols. But typically we work off of, and we're taught, the Industry and Institute of Justice protocols. So whether you're working a homicide, insurance claim, an insurance investigation of a car accident, or UFOs, it's the exact same process. If we're going to make a difference out here, and to have admissible reports and to be able to hand a witness something that would pass admissibility and actually legally could enter into a court of law is something that I wanted to raise the bar. And hopefully I've done that.
Oh, it seems from what I've been tracking that you certainly have. That's important because, again, that's that real world stuff that, well, especially the masses, that's what they know. So to convince that sector, etc. All right, we'll go on. She joined the Mutual UFO Network, what we call MUFON, in 1996 and was selected as the STAR team manager and deputy director of investigations through 2011. Chase Kloetzke was responsible for the program design, protocols, and investigation procedures for a national rapid response unit. This position included supervision of the most experienced investigators and access to the most sensitive and complex cases reported to MUFON. Yes. And you wrote the MUFON investigations book. I mean, literally wrote the book, yes?
Well, I wrote the book for the STAR team protocols. I did not do the field manual. I would have liked to, because there's a few corrections and a few things that I wouldn't have put in there, like, hazmat training, which is ridiculous. It's harmful and unnecessary. I would never put one of my team members into a situation like that because I don't have decontamination when they leave. What do I want them to do with that hazmat suit? What are they going to do with the evidence? They can't mail it. Do you want them to take it home to their family? It was just ridiculous. It wasn't well thought out. It was not from experienced, trained people. So I would have liked to, but I did write the STAR team manual and also set up the protocols for the special assignment team, SAT.
Right. That's coming up right here. Chase designed the coveted Special Assignment Team, SAT, which became the highest level of investigations in MUFON. This is the Tier 4, a tier as in TEIR, a small and elite team of investigators. And that's what you just referenced. Yeah,
yes. The SAT team is absolutely a very small team. There's less than a dozen people on it. And it's the green team. It's the go team. If MUFON has something that's very important, you're going to have to send your team out that actually has the equipment and the expertise to make it happen. They also have the most complex or sensitive cases. And the SAT team has done a few of the military cases and things where, we just had to dance around security clearances and all sorts of other challenges. And the SAT team is really my favorite part of MUFON. It's the most important part as far as I'm concerned. In 1 year, I think 7 of the biggest stories and covers for the journal were SAT team investigations. So a very important team in MUFON.
That's impressive. That is. And speaking of impressive, it says here, Chase became the director of investigations in 2018 and has since resigned her position in MUFON to pursue evidence and scientific investigations and to engage the lawmakers in D.C. with a focus on national security. In other words, you threw your energy in a different direction, although a correlating direction, so that you had time to do this other stuff. Yes?
Yes, and it was so hard because everyone knows I really love that position as being DOI or Director of Investigations, but it just wasn't going to happen. It was not going to be a successful position. There was nothing for me to do, and I take corners on 2 wheels. I knew I needed to put my energy into a different direction, and I had already started in DC. I live here. My husband was offered a position here, which it was just unreal how the synchronicity of timing all came through. But at this point, everything just pointed to just, let MUFON go, let all that go, and just really put my focus into the momentum from To the Stars Academy and what Steve Bassett had started in 2013.
And that is continuing to roll, and we'll talk about that, the latest developments, in a bit. It says here, in 2016, Chase became a registered and official lobbyist for the UFO field. This goal was realized through a progressive understanding that to truly influence change and offer a knowledgeable commentary on the realities of the UFO phenomenon, we must include our nation's elected and the very people that are trusted as our lawmakers. The scientific community is willing to participate if we maintain the proper protocols and evidence integrity. By including both the lawmakers and scientific communities, we breach the secrecy and ridicule stigma the UFO field has experienced for decades. And don't we? Yes.
I have to thank Richard Dolan for writing my bio for me. Because
really? That tickles me.
Yes, he's so amazing. That is the perfect way to put that. And I read it 100 times, but it just sounded so wonderful when you said it. It was very idealistic, Carol, because to me, to have that lobbyist title really meant that I had a ticket in. And what I've learned since is lobbyist is kind of a bad thing around here unless you have big money. Unless you work for, yes, the NRA, pharmaceuticals. There's no way in. What I have learned is by presenting reasonable commentary and to be talking about this phenomena that is real without saying words like UFOs, motherships, aliens.
Right, yes, yeah.
That we had to play by their rules and the way they understand information or how they get it in a way that they can process this. We had to do it their way. We've picketed, we have petitioned, we've held 2 very important citizens' hearings on disclosure, and yet To the Stars Academy has done more in a year than anyone's done in 50. And that is really because they understood we have to do it a way that the system is set up already. And that we hadn't employed that yet. But I witnessed that in 2013, and we'll talk about that in a bit, I'm sure.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I can't wait for that. Already, Chase, it says here, has not renewed her lobbyist ID. As she has found while working in D.C., she hasn't needed it. The doors are opening for the right people with the right information at the right time.
Completely true. That is exactly what I found. And, when you're a lobbyist, there is so much paperwork every month because we're supposed to be putting out how much money we've made and, all the contributions and how much we spent lobbying and influencing lawmakers. And the truth is, I didn't get a dime. Nobody gave me a dime. It's like all this stuff was for nothing. And then I found that, every one of us, every single person out here that's passionate about this, that has the information, can knock on doors and get in if we're following the proper protocols. If you're walking in, you're not in torn jeans and a camo jacket.
Right.
Right. But you're dressed for business, and you start talking to the right people. And usually it's junior staffers, and then they recommend you to senior staffers. Then you're talking to Nancy Pelosi. It's
right, which you did recently, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Tell us quickly about that.
They get you. You get really excited about your topic, and they're so ready, especially when there's such a young group in DC. So when you first start talking to the millennials and the junior staffers and even the senior staffers, half are my age, half are younger, my kids' age, and they don't need as much convincing as maybe the harder, lawmakers, the elected, because they have so much at stake. They can't make a mistake. The minute they do and they show one little, chink in their armor, it's over. So it's very, very difficult to get to these people. So the fact that people like Tom DeLonge and Lou Elizondo, Chris Mellon, that these guys have access to this top leadership the legislative branch as well as the executive branch, you have to bring in the White House. It can't just be congressional. You have to bring in the executive branch. And so this is where this is going. Leadership is leadership. I wish we had been able to have a meeting with the Intelligence Committee when it was still Nunes and, some of the guys over there. Right. Now it's transferred to Schiff, and, they're so focused on other things. It's a shut door. It's ridiculous. So, regardless of your politics, you have to just know the right people. It's just how it works in DC. We don't like it. It's really not fair, but it is how it is. And you either play or you don't.
Exactly. And it's so firmly embedded. This is such a long established set of, protocols that lead to attitudes or vice versa. It occurred to me, as you were talking about the older staffers, et cetera, and the millennials, do you find an easier acceptance? Is it an easier sell? Do you get like a less stonewall countenance as you speak to the youngers?
Absolutely. And it's so funny, Carol. They don't need the evidence. You're talking to them and they're like, oh, yeah. So, how do we get this to these guys? They already get this. And I don't know if it's because they were raised on, aliens and spaceships and their video games and cartoons, and it's just embedded in the culture. Or they're just a new generation that's a little more enlightened than we are. I think my dad thought we were smarter than he was when he was a child. I definitely saw my kids were way smarter than I was.
Oh, I can relate to that. Yes.
Yeah. And I now look at my grandkids and, my 2-year-old had to show me how to get to, old photos on my cell phone. I'm like, how did you find that? And, she just goes back and, flips through it again. And it's just crazy. I'm like, wow, oh my gosh, there's more technology in this cell phone I have than they had when they launched the first Apollo mission to the moon. And
isn't that staggering? Yes,
it is. And she's just rocking it like it's it's natural. So yes, to get back to the question, absolutely. Yes. The millennials get it. And even my kids, my oldest son is, I don't even want to say because I had him when I was 3.
Right, exactly. A child bride. All right.
Yeah, he's almost 40. And and he's just they just don't need it. They think it's funny I'm out here looking for evidence because, well, duh, Mom, of course there's, intelligent life elsewhere. Like, look at all that space. If we're it, that's depressing.
Yeah, and unlikely. I just personally feel. Yeah. So that's an interesting thing. Also, as these kids were growing, they had a plethora of stuff to choose from, good, better, or indifferent. But we had, unexplained mysteries, etc. All the television trope. And some of which was presented a little, of course, too theatrically, but a lot of the, especially the classic UFO cases were kind of laid out for these kids. And oh my gosh, I would have died for that when I was in high school. There was like nothing. Right. Yeah, so that is a sea change that perhaps has something to do with an acceptance, a position of, yes, what's your point? It's real. Okay. But still that admissible part. Oh, and speaking of admissible, that's the title of a book you wrote, yes?
It is. I do have that book, Admissible. It's something I realized a while ago. If you're going to do an investigation and we have people counting on us, Carol, these witnesses, they don't have anyone else. They can't dial 911. They can't call a private investigator. We're really it. And if we show up and we don't have the proper skill sets or the proper equipment to help them, it's almost don't bother because it hurts them further in the end. And I really thought we needed to raise the bar for our field in general. If we conduct these cases with the same protocols as a homicide and we understood what is evidence and we processed everything from eyewitness testimony to, a physical chunk of metal, the way we're supposed to, we now have case files that we can present to anyone, including Congress, the Senate, and hopefully one day the President of the United States.
I'm just trying to envision that. Yes.
We're leaders that we can open our case files and have tons of them. We should have tens of thousands of these admissible cases now that meet a burden of proof and a scientific scrutiny because we did the job correctly. And I'm also against giving final disposition. I think it's ridiculous to do that because we'll never be able to say, yes, it was a UFO and it was a craft from Pleiades. We can't ever say that. So why pretend and come up with, these words that don't even make sense sometimes on what we're doing? My cases, such as the Star Child skull, if you go on to the website that Carrie McClure in the field reports, if you go to the website, you see that we just give you the case. We give you all the science. We give you all the names of the analysts and where all our work was done so everyone can vet the same information. We don't keep anything back, and we let the public decide. I don't say it's human, not human. Science did, because science doesn't care what we believe. So for me, I've always let the public kind of weigh in on their own verdict, and by presenting the most admissible case results possible. I shouldn't have to be the investigator and the judge and jury, right?
Oh, well said. Yeah, that in a nutshell. Exactly. And this is strange. It never really occurred to me when you said the witnesses have no place to go. You are advocating for the witnesses as well as all the rest of it.
Yeah, and the hardest thing, I'm associate producer. It's my first time in a production role, and I'm so honored to be able to do that in a brand new film. It's called The Seeding.
Yes, good. I'm glad you brought that up. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's addressing the missing fetus syndrome. And if we want to talk about that further in depth a little bit later, I won't say too much, except what you find there are real events. And who do these witnesses have? So if we're not bringing our best to them, think about the devastation, the heartache, the trauma they've already gone through. And if we're not doing it right, and if we're not prepared to help them, we need to find them the proper people and step out. And I have done that. I'm not perfect. I'm not, I've actually done that where I wasn't the right person and I got them the proper help. And, but it's all about the witnesses. It's why we do what we do. Sure, some of it's to find the truth, but I don't care if it's me, To the Stars Academy, Richard Dolan, Nick Pope. I don't care who it is. Let's just get this done, guys, right? I've been working since 1996. I'm tired. I'm old. I'm getting grumpy.
Bring resolution. Yes.
Yeah. But it really is about the witnesses, and it's about the people counting on you and the public that wants real information. They're tired of being teased. They're tired of being lied to, and they're tired of these proclamation and carnival barkers going out there and making all these claims, and then they're wrong in 2 weeks, and then there's no apology. They don't make it right. They just move on. It needs to stop, right?
Exactly, because it only fuels the naysayers. It gives, strength where we really don't want it. It sort of bolsters up, people who believe in UFOs are nut jobs,
Right, absolutely. And I don't feed beast, so.
Exactly. Well, listen,
let's just. The number one rule in a lab is don't lick the spoon. Number one rule in ufology, don't feed the beasts.
Oh, my gosh. Well, we have to feed a beast at the moment called The Break. So hold all those wonderful thoughts, and we'll be right back with Chase Kloetzke on Alan B. Smith's Paranormal Now. This is Carol Carl.
Hey, KGRA family, are you looking to show the world that you're a true believer? Well, shop now at thesaucerbrand.com. They've got something for the whole family. Jackets, hoodies, shirts, and hats, and so much more. And now's your last chance to use promo code KGRA for $10 off when you spend $50 or more at thesaucerbrand.com. Your new source for official and authentic ufology-inspired essentials made right here in the USA. And don't forget, use promo code KGRA at checkout and get $10 off when you spend $50 or more. Believe in style and elevate your craft at thesaucerbrand.com. And look for them at The Alien Con, June 21st through the 23rd.
You know, food was different 60 years ago. It was minimally processed, free of pesticides. It was nourishing and healthful for your body. Today, GMOs, pesticides, herbicides, and heavy processing have depleted the nutrition of our food supply, which takes a toll on our health and energy. It's harder than ever to get the right nutrition. That's what Life Change Tea is meant to counteract. Our specially blended, powerful herbal formulas can give you more energy without caffeine. It's a mild cleanse, a mild daily detox. A good detox can help revive and bring back the energy of your youth. GetTheTea.com is the website. It'll cleanse you from the inside out with this herbal proprietary formula. Go to GetTheTea.com. There's no fillers, no GMOs. It's organic. Not available in stores. You must go to their website, GetTheTea.com. And their supplements are a great way to maintain your health. Read the testimonials on the website. Go to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
This is Richard Dolan announcing a new exclusive content website, richarddolanmembers.com. I've been working on this for a long time. Unique weekly podcasts that you won't hear anywhere else, fresh articles and blog posts, a special video series entitled Off the Cuff with Richard Dolan, regular Ask Me Anything style live chat sessions, and more. This is a full-featured member site where you will get my insights, my updates, and be able to interact directly with me. To learn more, go to richarddolanmembers.com.
Your official contact for the best alternative talk on the planet. KGRARadio.com.
We're back. In case you're just joining us, we are joined by Chase Kloetzke, none other than, and we were talking about your film Extraordinary, The Seeding. That's going to be released Tuesday, September 3rd. On video on demand. So everybody, get ready. Pre-sales start June 6th. They've already started. And you can find the website. Now, let's see. So we were dealing with that very painful, really traumatic issue of lost fetuses.
It was something that's really gripped my heart for a long time. And I was talking to Jack Roth, who is executive producer of the film, and we had decided to write a book together on this topic, and we're already deep in research and talking to witnesses. And John Sumple and Jack have already completed one documentary for Netflix, and it was bringing in bank. It was to the point where, the Orchard called John and Jack to California and said, give us more. Do you have anything else?
Oh, and my.
I know, Jack being so excited. Well, we have this topic. So truthfully, that's, the guys came back. He's like, Chase, I hope you don't mind. I hope you're okay with this, but it just popped out. And I'm like, no, this is amazing. You guys go. But they didn't leave me out because Jack and I had already started it. The class that they had was they included me and made me work and do my job. They made me do it. Associate producer for the film. And I'm so grateful to them because they could have had it because they've done such an amazing job. And for anybody that sees this film, most of the cast came from KGRA, of course, because
right. You were tossing those names out. Yeah, excellent.
If you're going to be good, then you should be working for the best, and that's KGRA. So this was something that you'll see a lot of the KGRA, even alumni, which I'm KGRA alumni, is in this film. But it's really addressing a nice round picture. So, but there's a breakaway star in this that I just have to mention. Melinda Leslie, which we all know and appreciate and respect in this field. When I saw her on this film, I was blown away. This girl put me out of my chair. I have rarely been moved than listening to her and her story, and there are many in the film. This is, it's a really good film, you guys. I'm so friggin' proud of this.
Oh, I can't wait to see it.
Oh my God!
But Melinda blew you away, yes?
Yes, Melinda Leslie is a breakaway star in this film. There's Richard Dolan, Mark D'Antonio, Nick Pope, like everybody's in it. There's oh my gosh, I love her so much. Out in California, she runs Zero.
Oh yes, anyway. I'm blanking on the name too, but I know who you mean.
Yvonne Smith.
Yvonne Smith, right.
Yes, what a doll. Like, all the right people are in it, Barbara Lamb, and then we have science people. And so it's this nice, comes at all angles. But the one thing we can't deny are these pregnancies.
Yes, in case there's anybody listening who's not really hipped to this, I know you certainly have all the nuts and bolts. So play it out, lay it out for us.
Yeah, and they find themselves having these experiences where they're brought on craft or they're visited by, strange beings. Then these women find themselves pregnant. Sonograms, complete medical proof they're pregnant. And then somewhere within the first or second trimester, bam, all of a sudden they're not. There's not a single sign they've ever been pregnant. It's the craziest phenomenon. And then as the years went on of studying and staying with these women who are suffering some of this event, we find that they often are met and have, whether it's a dream or not, these women feel as though they meet and they're brought again in an area where they meet these children. And it's not just women, it's men too.
So, now that's a part I didn't know. Men as well. So in other words, the putative fathers of these children.
Correct. And so you wonder what happens. It has to be genetic. There's a reason. I don't believe they're just random picks. That doesn't make sense. There's a reason that these people are chosen. And that's really where our number 3 film is coming. Netflix loved it. They wanted a third, or the third almost done. And yeah, I know.
That's so overwhelming.
I know. It's so good, you guys. I was just so happy. And because it's about these women and men and telling their story and giving them the fairness of not just Barbara Lamb, who's amazing and a sweetheart, that has a lot of really good things to say and to present, but also a scientific community and the skeptics.
Yes.
They also have the right questions.
One of my questions, not skeptical at all, I'm totally open-minded about this, but one of my questions is regarding the substantiation of the initial determination of pregnancy. Is there a commonality? Or, for instance, were any of these women virgins?
It's crazy. I do have a very close friend, someone I work with, who had not had sex with anyone who experienced this phenomena. She hasn't come out. That's got to be almost sacrilegious to even say something like that. She understands what's going, like even the implication of something like that.
Right.
She wouldn't go there. But and this is a problem as well. They're just not getting answers. I think a lot of them are, a lot of people were trying to, what's your blood type? So we're trying to find that commonality, like why them? Why not me?
Right.
Why
What would, right. Exactly. So in other words, were you kind of edging up to, in these things perhaps not being one-offs, are you getting toward that family legacy as some sort of hereditary interest? Like, did grandmother see UFOs or have anomalous experiences? Is that what we're?
Yes, you are correct, Carol. That's exactly where this is going. And one of my favorite people, one of Race's favorite people too, is Deb Cobble. And
yes, right.
Right. She was really famous for not Whitley Strieber. It was Bud Hopkins, Intruders.
Yes, right. Exactly. And now she was is that the Anderson case?
I don't know what the case was called. I do know they called her someone else. She had a different name in his book, but Intruders was about her. And she's actually going to be speaking at Congress, the International UFO Congress. And anybody out there that doesn't have a ticket for that for this year, oh my gosh, get it, go, be there. If you do nothing else this year, this is the event. It really is. Of a lifetime, right. I would say.
Let's see.
Momentum.
Sorry, go ahead.
But Deb is going to be there as well. And, and I think we found out with her being one of the first that was coming out and being detailed, and all of her testimony is out there. So, she's kind of the maverick trailblazer. And, now we have a lot of these other women because of the bravery and courage that Deb showed coming out and telling her story and continues to do so. And I love her because this woman, I guess there was a time when some of these women are accused of looking for fame. And Deb's like, really? Really? Who wants to be famous for this shit? Really? I'll never forget saying that.
That phrase of, why do you want to put that kind of crazy on you, right?
Exactly. Back in the day, back in the 80s. So now for people to say something like this, they would almost get a consideration that Deb never got. So,
So she is a trailblazer.
Oh, she's amazing. And she's going to be at Congress telling her story and what's happening since. And, there's so many great people going to be there speaking. I'm just freaking out further and further. Greatness coming, or even just the guests that are coming, people that we know. It's just going to be a rocking conference this year. But, yeah, it's a great film. It's also going to be previewed at Congress. We're entering it into the film festival there. It's already picked up several awards. Pasadena, I believe, is the latest film award it's picked up. So,
terrific!
Just so proud. I'm just so proud. But it's the people, and it really is Jack and John, and Lori Wagner is the producer. I'm associate producer, and this is really a team that let me kind of tag along and, gave me little chores here and there. And,
right.
So
it's not like they wanted your expertise or anything.
I'm just so humbled. And, especially when you listen to these women, I'm featured in the film as an expert, with Richard Dolan and, the rest of the people we can name. But the star is really Leslie and or Melinda and, some of the others that appear in the film and bravely tell exactly what happened to them. I had knots in my stomach, and I know these stories. I've seen them like 5 times. And when the whole film was done, I'm just sitting there with a big knot in my, totally brought in. But I promise, Melinda Leslie is the breakaway star of this film, and I'm so proud of her.
Wow. You heard it here, everybody. Melinda Leslie, a name to keep remembering.
Yes.
Yep. Fascinating. That's really incredible. Yikes. And yeah, the UFO conference, Congress, sorry, and it's got the reputation of being in the Guinness Book, the most well-attended conference. Yes,
it is the largest, and I'm just so happy because this is one of the conference. Everyone knows I prefer the smaller events because I really feel like we could spend time with the people that paid tickets. This is one of the events that you still get that. How it works out that way, we still get our time with the people that want to spend time with you or would like to talk to you or pull you aside. I'm an investigator, and one of the hardest things is when you're exhausted because you've worked all day and you're on stage or you've had like 4 different interviews, but then you come out and a guy's standing there and he looks at you and he says, I've been waiting, for 3 years to come and give you my evidence. You don't ignore these people. This is about them, and it's something I've never forgotten.
That's the human touch. That's the absolute. You're looking in somebody's eyes. There's everything you need to make an assessment of where they're coming from.
Yes, and I'm not alone. I speak for myself. I don't like to speak for others, but there are so many other people out there that are, you think of the Barbara Lambs and the Yvonne Smiths and, the investigators that have really made a difference out here. Linda Moulton Howe, which is, I still look at her in awe. She knows I adore her. She knows I almost worship her.
I like that.
She really is. She's my hero. And I don't always agree with where she goes with some of her information, but I always give the consideration. And I think this is what's missing in our field, Carol, is I give her the consideration. If I have the knowledge and the insider, that information and everything that Linda knows, maybe I'd come up with that exact same conclusion. So even though I don't agree, I would never disrespect this woman as someone who was out here before it was cool, who was doing it when she was fighting every good old boy. I'm telling you, I still fight the good old boys.
Yeah, right.
Is that good old boy network out here? It sure is. And they don't like being tumbled with. But back in the 60s, it was 10 times worse. Linda and those that came before us really helped us with a little bit of acceptance into this field. And, and I like having heroes. And she is mine, and everyone knows it, including her. And I think she loves me for it, honestly. Like, she gives me a hug, and she's very sweet and endeared because she knows I love this woman. Like, she's so amazing.
That is so cool to hear. Yeah, well, and it also speaks to your generosity of spirit, what you were saying about if you had the same investigative, et cetera, that you might come up with the conclusion with which you don't completely agree, but it's that respect thing. Yeah. Well, that's who you...
And we have to give that to each other. Richard Dolan wrote our encyclopedias on national security. He chronicalized or put in a chronicle order, our biggest UFO cases. And he didn't miss one, which is crazy to look back on all these years later after writing the book. And we still can't find one he missed. He's that freaking good. And yet, they've got these young people that just, they want you out of the way. They, like abuse you literally online and in public and on radio shows because they have no use for you. You're in their way. And I just, as long as some of us old school people are still here, we're going to dig our heels in because we have worked way too hard and we have shown each other way too much respect to start just that dominate all the work we've ever done. It's just not going to happen. And the one thing that we have that they don't is patience. And about the time they think that we're not paying attention and they got away with it, that's when the hammer comes down. We're very, very patient.
And then blammo.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's just, we have to protect our field. And the good news is it's almost over in a sense, Carol, because the momentum that To the Stars Academy has started with changing the discussion. I remember the first time I met with Lou Elizondo, which I was his first interview, and that's what he said. I want to change the discussion. We've got to bring the media on board. We need to put this out. And that's exactly what they've done. This is amazing momentum that we have in our field. And I know they're diversive, and I know they're controversial. People get on board or get left behind because they're moving forward, and they're not caring about our opinion. They're talking to senators. They're talking to people that brief the president of the United States. Lou Elizondo obviously is an honest person. He absolutely told the truth. I know. I saw his DD-214. We vetted all that stuff. It's like, give me a break. People are wasting time on all these arguments, and these guys are moving forward. And I almost don't feel sorry for them, Carol. I really don't.
Yeah. And speaking of the moving forward, let's get you to weigh in on, and in case anybody just joined us, we're talking to Chase Kloetzke here, weigh in on the History Channel series Unidentified. So far, we've seen 2 episodes. What's your take on the presentation? Actually, I'd like to have you comment, if you can, on the presentation and the content.
I love the show. I think it's the best UFO show we've ever had. I can tell you that what I love about it is it's not a UFO hunting show. So, it's not the same old. We don't have those guys out there, trying to act like SWAT team.
Right. Yeah.
Best, and we're going to rock and roll, and all the bells and whistles, because nobody's doing that anymore. It's kind of like, we know that's not the reality out here. So I love the fact that they're taking it to the science. And Carol, all these years, I just remember thinking, if we could just get a couple military guys with the kind of clout that people would believe. Or if we could get somebody from the CIA to come out and say they absolutely know these are real, or the FBI, and then when we finally get it, we got Steve Justice from Skunk Works. You got and Chris Mellon. Their credentials are ridiculous. Are you kidding? On our side. And what did we do? We rape them. I don't friggin' think so. I'm not on that camp. I am thankful that we finally have people from that inside, from that intelligence community, which is where we knew the UFO information was buried. So now that we have those guys coming out and giving us that little tiny bit, it may not be the whole piece of meat. They can't. But I'll tell you what, it's 10 times more than we had a year ago. And they've done more than anyone's done in 50 years.
Absolutely. It's a breath take. And of course, before Unidentified, we had Project Blue Book, the series. That
was fun. I loved it.
Yeah.
I love anything that really shows my passion, what I do, in a good light. I loved Project Blue Book. I thought it was so much fun to sit down and watch. I love Unidentified. I'm part of a series that will be coming out in August on the Travel Channel called UFOs, The Lost Evidence. It stars, I think the cast is, I don't want to say stars, like that's stupid. But
we know what you mean. Yeah.
Richard Dolan, Nick Pope, it's myself, and Bob Spearing and Michael Schratt. I love this cast. It's just awesome. And, but this is not for UFO people. This show is for people that are looking for information on UFOs because they don't really know much. This is not for UFO people. I have to say that 20 times because you'll be like, oh, it's the same old thing. Yeah, kind of, guys, because other people don't know what we know yet. We have to talk about Nazis and UFOs. We have to talk about, some of these other things. So I will say that show is really for your kids or your neighbors that have never known anything. So
right, sort of a primer, sort of a first, sort of UFOs 101.
Yeah, because it was supposed to come out in April, and Travel Channel, knowing what the History Channel was going to be putting out with Unidentified, waited till after because they think that there's going to be people that have questions like, wait a minute, how did they get to this level? What about the basic UFO stuff? And that's what this show decided to focus on was, the basic information again.
Right. Again and again and again until we get it right, until we get it understood. Maybe that's a better way to put it. Well, Richard Dolan, incredible. And let's talk about this latest, absolutely, speaking of breathtaking, the video, the Admiral Wilson disclosure. Can we use that word? Probably not accurately, but it references crash retrieval. It references contractors, defense contractors, etc. So we've got about 4 minutes until the break. Can you touch on how you feel about that?
I'm again a huge fan of Richard Dolan. I'm also a good friend. He was the first one that joined KGRA, and we have a long history with all of us. There's a little group, and we go way back. And when Richard Dolan says this is the most important leak in a century, I absolutely went and listened to that immediately.
Oh yeah. My incredible supplier of many interesting things and links, I refer to him as the man in the high castle, sent me that link, and boom, it absolutely riveting, breathtaking. It's kind of like, yep, here it is. Something that, I've been waiting for since I was 12, frankly. A lifelong interest in this field. But to have Richard Dolan be the purveyor of this is sort of like, enough said. Here it is.
And I love that how he does this. He shares what he owns, or he shares what he learns. He takes this leaked document, which is pretty intense to read and to kind of pull the pieces apart to tell a story. And he does this. He takes each section and explains not only what it means, but why it's so significant with all the other information. I don't want to kind of take his thunder because everything I repeat would only be something he said, and everybody would do themselves a big favor and some justice by going on and catching that interview or that presentation from Richard Dolan. It's free. It's on YouTube. It's friggin' amazing.
It is incredible, and the great part is, he does this terrific slideshow. Yes. He actually we can read the documents. Sometimes, read along with him, silently, or who knows, out loud. What the heck? And then he'll go over and he'll paraphrase stuff and he'll point stuff out again. I totally recommend it. It's not only dramatic information, but it's presented in a really cogent way.
And it couldn't have come out at a better time. Which
exactly.
is another topic, actually.
Okay, yeah. It definitely, in terms of timing, it's a situation where, do you feel in your gut that we're running up to some huge event? Disclosure not disclosure. I don't want to use that word, but some revelation.
I do. I believe that we're on a roll of at least acknowledgement and further study. So this is going to a whole new level that is even, I'm holding on by fingertips to stay with this. It's so big.
It is. It's kind of, I've got this gut level feeling that, it's the same way I feel before a thunderstorm.
Yes.
So it's going to be fascinating to see how this, and also, do you think funding, any kind of funding?
Yeah.
Carol, did we lose you, sweetheart? We still got her, Chasey, on the line. But you know what? It's time for us to go to her break anyway. We'll just take this moment to go into a break, and we'll go fetch Carol, get her back on the air here. So don't go anywhere, folks. You're listening to Paranormal Now with guest host Carol Carl and our very special and honored guest, Chase Kloetzke. We'll be right back after these messages. Stay with us.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
This is Richard Dolan announcing a new exclusive content website, richarddolanmembers.com. I've been working on this for a long time. Unique weekly podcasts that you won't hear anywhere else. Fresh articles and blog posts. A special video series entitled Off the Cuff with Richard Dolan. Regular Ask Me Anything style live chat sessions and more. This is a full-featured member site where you will get my insights, my updates, and be able to interact directly with me. To learn more, go to richarddolanmembers.com.
Hey, KGRA family, are you looking to show the world that you're a true believer? Well, shop now at thesaucerbrand.com. They've got something for the whole family. Jackets, hoodies, shirts, and hats, and so much more. And now's your last chance to use promo code KGRA for $10 off when you spend $50 or more at thesaucerbrand.com. Your new source for official and authentic ufology-inspired essentials made right here in the USA. And don't forget, use promo code KGRA at checkout and get $10 off when you spend $50 or more. Believe in style and elevate your craft at thesaucerbrand.com. And look for them at The Alien Con, June 21st through the 23rd.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Around the world for decades have come high strangeness reports of mysterious aerial lights, beams, animal mutilations, human abductions, secret space and military programs focused on an alien presence. One reporter of these Earth mysteries is Emmy Award-winning TV producer, writer, and editor Linda Moulton Howe. She reports and edits the science, environment, and real X-Files news website, earthfiles.com.
We are moving from the paradigm that we are alone in the universe to a new one in which we are not alone. And something out there is interacting with us, our animals and plant life, forcing glimpses of other realities upon us.
Linda has produced 4 large books about these phenomena with hundreds of color images and illustrations that reviewers such as New York Times best-selling author Jim Marrs describes as an amazing accumulation of evidence. All her books, An Alien Harvest, the 2-volume Glimpses of Other Realities, and Mysterious Lights and Crop Circles, along with documentaries, are available in the shop at earthfiles.com.
We are the contact for alternative research topics. The Planet, KGRAradio.com.
We're back. This is Carol Carl sitting in for Alan B. Smith's Paranormal Now. Our guest tonight, Chase Kloetzke, and the technical gremlins have been banished, so we're all set to go. Where did we leave off? Let's talk about Peru. Let's edge into your latest, but let's go back to something that someone put me onto regarding being detained by the police. Was that Peru specifically?
Probably what they are talking about was Bolivia. And I was with L.A. Marzulli, and we were on an expedition for Watchers. And there was, I believe, 9 of us on this team. And we had just gone through customs, which is like this little office building in Bolivia, and gave our passports, all of that. We come out of there, and we were heading for the bus. And these 2 Bolivian guards border patrol guys came up, and they pulled me, Aaron Judkins, and Ellie Marzulli And they started walking us back, but instead of the customs building we just left, with our passport, they took us down this little path to this like dilapidated building. And already I'm thinking, this is not good.
Oh.
So we get in, and there's like these two little metal chairs, and they sit LA and Aaron, and they escort me by my arm down a hallway, put me in this room, shut the door with this one Bolivian guy while the other guy stands outside.
Oh my God.
I know. I'm about ready to, just pass out. And
yeah.
So he looks at me, and the first thing he says is, "Do you speak Spanish?" And I'm thinking, hell no, I'm not going to tell you if I speak Spanish. It's like, no, I don't speak Spanish at all. He tells me to empty everything out of my pocket. So I do, and I have like this little purse on me, and we always know to tuck our money somewhere else. So he wanted to know what money I had. So I put that out there. Then he tells me to take my shirt off.
Oh my God.
I know. I don't know. My answer was no. And I looked and I said, no, I'm not going to do that. And he looked at me, and he kind of got a little angry, and he's getting ready to tell me to again. And he starts with this, take the shirt off now. And I hear all this ruckus in the background, and all of a sudden that door kicks in, and here's LA and Aaron, and they're just loud and just being rowdy. And they're like, "Oh, you're not keeping her back here. I don't think you guys are supposed to be here. You're running us down." And he goes, "You want to know if we have drugs?" LA lifted his shirt, and he goes, "I'll show you. You look at mine." They went nuts. And they were they got so loud that the guy just looked, and he's pushing my stuff towards me, And I had my dependent ID because my husband's active duty at the time. And when I pull that out, I'm thinking, oh my God, that's either my get out of jail free, or I just became a high target, a high value.
Oh, right.
Because that's big in, especially some of the areas in the jungle, which I just got back from, but we were not quite in at this time. But I was so thankful to be with guys who weren't compliant and sat and did what they were told. They realized, wait a minute, these guys are running us down. This is illegal. They don't want to get caught either. And thank goodness for that, because I knew exactly where this was going. That room was set up for exactly that. And I'm so thankful, that I was with guys that just decided they were going to risk it and just go for it. And we got out of there.
Outstanding. Your heroes. Oh my gosh. The drama. How many minutes do you think by the clock from the time they walked you in there?
It wasn't very long. It seemed like a long time, but it wasn't really that long at all. Really, in the time it took me to tell you the story was probably as long as it lasted.
Very good. Okay.
Other than taking the things out of my purse and pockets, which, only took a few seconds because I didn't have much with me at the time, because we know this. But, we were in Chongos, and we're hours going through the desert. There's no street signs. There's nothing out there. It's just desert. And you have to know where you're going. We mostly work off of GPS. And there was another story in LA, I'm sure he's told these 100 times as well, but, all of a sudden the guy stops, who's our bus driver, and we're like 40 miles to the nearest anything in complete desert. And it's hot. It's miserable. There's no water. And he says, "I want $200 American from each of you, or get out." I'm like, we're looking at each other. We thought he was joking. This guy's been with us for like a week and a half. We're like, wait a minute, we're buddies. What are you talking about? And he wasn't joking. He wanted the money. So we get out, and I look at LA, and, there was a bunch of us, again, the same 9. And I look, I'm like, LA, I can take him. Screw him. We leave his butt out here, and we drive. And he's like,
good work.
Right. He's like, Chase, except we're going back to his neighborhood and his village. I'm like, oh, damn it. So it was like, but it was one of these things. It's just what happens in Peru. The funniest part of the story was the next morning when the new driver comes to pick us up, and this guy shows up again. And he's mad because there's another driver. And we're like, dude, you extorted money from us. Like, LAPD.
Hey, he was just doing his job. Right?
That's exactly it. But that's what they do. So it was just like, well, you're mad about that? It was the oddest thing. But, sometimes in Peru, it's just, whatever. We've had some crazy things happen. That's for sure.
Absolutely, I can imagine that. So let's move into your latest trip.
This was fun. This is a totally different expedition. I'm now working with Inca Quest, and which is Timothy Alberino and Steve Quayle. They're mostly known in the prophecy community, and at kind of the biblical narrative.
Really?
And this is, kind of like LA. They're from that.
Yes. Yeah, I get. Okay, got it now. Okay.
So it's, and I'm kind of not like,
right.
Well, I'm all about science. And I joke that I'm the heathen of the group, and they love me anyway. But somehow Timothy invited me on this team. I love working with Inca Quest because most of the members are also Bohic Ruse, which is BOHICRUZ. And if you look them up as bohicruz.com, it will tell you the kind of caliber of explorers that we're working with. These are the explorers that found the candelabra in Paracas, many, many big, huge discoveries throughout South America. So it's such an honor to be with these guys. And the latest trip, of course, was probably the most dangerous thing I've ever done. I can't wait to be back with them, which I just got back from a trip with them, which was my second time with them. Most likely going to have a third, and I just can't wait. I love these guys, but they're no holds bar. We're going up a mountain, and we are traveling up this road. And my job is to look out the side window to see how much room we have. And there were many times we had 2 to 4 inches. And yeah, these mountains are not only steep, but they go down miles. Like if you come down, in fact, I put my seatbelt on when I got in the truck, and he goes, don't do that. You don't want your seatbelt on, because if we should slide, you want to jump. It's the only chance. You've got to jump.
Yikes.
So this is what you're hearing. We also stayed for, because, when you're going up these mountains, there's not really towns. There's these little villages, because we're in the Amazon. And we pull up to some of these villages, and it was just so cool because, once again, I'm with men that are so honorable. I'm the only female. I didn't even realize that most of the time, but, all of a sudden we're this little village, and they stop and they ask if there is any room that they could give us that we could just spend the night, because it was getting too dark for us to see the cliff edge anymore with our headlights. That was no joke, by the way. There were places, Carol, where our wheel was 2 inches from falling off that side. 2 inches. It was crazy.
But you can't wait to get back, right?
I know, I can't. But we get there, and they asked a village if we could stay there, so they gave us a schoolhouse. And, we're sleeping, in between little desks and things like this. And it's just amazing, like, how it works over there. There were no hotels. People just gave you a floor in a school that you could sleep on for the night. Or it was just amazing. But the people that we stayed with for the bulk of our expedition were head shrinkers.
Are you serious?
I am serious. But the biggest thing was this last time, they actually had to cut the expedition short because they were getting ready for a machete war, because they were warring with the village down the road, because the village was very, very upset that the Americans came in, because we left food, we left money. There was all sorts of gifts we would give them because they were so amazing and hospitable. These people let us come into their village.
Yes.
And they had never seen white villagers before. So the kids were all looking at us. It was, they let us use their burros and their donkeys to get further up the mountains. It was just, they're so generous. And we didn't realize what we were doing by leaving them. So we actually had to send Timothy and Anson Pai from Bohic Ruse to kind of negotiate and give them a medical center, like a little medical outpost that they would go ahead and stock and keep for both tribes right in the middle. And that's the only thing anybody was going to get. So it was fair. And so we stopped the machete war. It was just, the politics are just, it's just amazing. But everything in the Amazon wants to eat you, plants, animals, and insects. I've learned to be deathly afraid of bullet ants.
I don't even know what those are.
It is the most painful bite you can get. These suckers are like 2 inches long, and they don't like you in their spot, and they're very aggressive. So you wouldn't even know, and you throw your little sleeping bag down, and you decide to take a little nap. You lay down, put your head down, and you've got 4 of them. And it's brutal. I was terrified of these things because they're horrible. The most painful bite ever on the planet. So, it's just interesting, again, being the only female, just the bathroom issues and, just
right.
whatever.
Yeah.
It's, you're just with people that we take care of each other. We have each other's back. And it's just, I can't describe how amazing it is to be doing things where we were in areas where humans had not been yet. It was the first time human boots had hit that path. So, it's just the opportunities, and it really is because of the forensic specialty that I've learned and studied for, and I work very hard for that. And that's the specialty. So anybody out there, I highly recommend you get really good at forensics. I don't know anybody else doing this.
Oh, dear.
Crazy.
Yeah. So can you now get into the prose part here? Not really science, but what did it feel like to be, in your perception, and accurately so, the first set of boots on that ground?
It never leaves you how amazing it is. Truthfully, you almost have to remember that because it's exhausting. The terrain is tough, and I wasn't as healthy as I have been in the past, and I didn't know it at the time. Mm-hmm. Actually, I did. I just didn't know it was that bad, type of thing. But so I just remember being very grateful that I just was part of the whole process. Even sitting back at camp where we just had like a little fire and just looking around at like Alex and Timothy and, some of these people that are so brave and are really, really looking for significant things from our past that will answer questions. I just, to be with people like that, it really is about that. It's about that camaraderie and that spirit with them,
Right, a shared passion.
Yeah, and it's really hard to put words on, what it feels like to accomplish something so dangerous and just be there at night and you're just all together and you're safe and you're laughing and they're smoking cigars and, it's the best.
Wow. You paint really a picture there. It's a great visual. Wow.
And Carol, there was a really big learning curve for me as well, because there's so much poverty in Peru. And after about 10 days, 14 days, I was tired of seeing it. My heart could not take any more. Mm-hmm. I could not look at one more little kid without shoes or, it was just the poverty that the people that live here have no idea what this type of poverty looks like. It's crucial. And then we pull up to this little place and these little kids all come running out because, they don't get strangers, right? Mm-hmm. Typically. And I'm looking at them and I look in their eyes. Carol, they're happy. They don't know what friggin' cell phones are. They don't even what real nice shoes are. They probably wouldn't wear them if they had them. They probably had a pair under their bed. Who needs them? They're free. These little kids And these people love each other. They take care of each other as a community. And I started realizing this, and I felt like the biggest hypocrite on the planet. Like, how dare I judge them on what I thought was poverty when they're the happiest people? Honestly, they wouldn't know what running water is or a running toilet. They probably have never seen it. And if they did, they didn't care. Do they really need it? I don't think so. They're trading machetes and goats. It is such a pure life. The love, the care that they have for each other, it was such an epiphany. And I kept thinking about how many girlfriends I have, with the fancy cars and the huge house and, everything they need. And they need a Prozac to get through their day.
Right.
These people, and I kept thinking of that little Bible verse, and the meek shall inherit the earth, because with all our riches, all our knowledge, turn our lights off for 3 days. We're in turmoil. These people, nothing changes. They go on every day with their happy, loyal communities. Just an amazing experience to really, to feel that type of just emotion drop on your head and to look in their eyes. And it was the first time in a long time I slowed down enough to pay attention to where I was and who these people were. Maybe that's why I'm so attached to Peru, because for the first time, probably in a long, long time, Carol, I saw these people, if that makes sense.
Oh, well, I get it, because you were able to step outside, of your construct, which, probably nothing new for you, but you were in a place where you could receive what they were sending, shall we say. You got it. You got the energies. You were able to, feel what it would be like to live in that. The word that occurs to me is purity.
Yeah, and that is, oh my gosh, Carol, that is the word. And these people, the love I felt for them, and it just never stopped. So whether we were in Lima, the city, where, everybody's got a car and a cell phone, or we were out in the outskirts where, this little boy had never seen his picture on a device. So when Aaron Judkins has taken a little picture of him and showed him, he just freaked. He thought that was the coolest thing he'd ever seen. He showed his mom, and, it was magic to him. His little eyes lit up. But the love and they knew I loved them. They knew I got it. It was such a magical experience.
Again, no wonder you were looking forward to the next time. Wow.
Can't wait.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So let's is this the time we segue into the Star Child skull?
That was a difficult investigation. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was a biggie.
Yes, and that it is purportedly. Well, I guess the one thing that is not controversial is the age. 900 years old. Is that?
Yeah, and about everything else was very controversial. You had skeptics and scientists on one side. You had believers on the other side, and then you had people making claims that, I don't know. It was just crazy. We just did the science. We put it through all the testing. And, we really took this as a way of finishing what Lloyd started, even in his book.
Yes, right. Lloyd Pye, right.
Yes, when we read his book, what he said was he had hoped that one day mainstream science would partner with him and put a real study into the Star Child skull. And when we did that, the Star Child skull, I don't know, it was a whole committee, and they had a board of directors, and they, made about $130,000 a year in donations, and, they were not happy. I'm like, wait, what? I'm supposed to do what? We just put out the science, and reading Lloyd's words made me feel a lot better. And knowing that we told the truth, and we didn't lie to Lloyd, we didn't lie to Melanie Young, the was always the owner of the Star Child skull. Most people didn't realize that. And, and it really was Carrie and I, and Melanie had a lot to do with it as well. But really, Carrie McClure and myself were partnered in this from day one. And a lot of really good stuff came out. So what we finally did was we did get the nuclear and the mitochondrial DNA. And it showed that the Star Child, which we knew with mitochondrial was Native American. That was never disputed with even Lloyd. Lloyd knew, but because they didn't know who the father was, that's what the speculation or, the hypothesis that it was a hybrid. But they never
an alien-human hybrid, correct?
Correct, yes. Okay. But they never disputed that the female was Native American. And so... and the female skull that was found with the Star Child skull, they were not related. So if this wasn't his mother or whatever. But
they were found in the same site.
Yes. And
but no connection.
Correct. They were not related. And the female had so many head traumas, so many fractures, concussion fractures. She was beaten horribly her whole life. It was horrible. And, we can only speculate, why she was left. So we're not sure why they were left in a cave, because the tribe they came from had ritual burial and they were not given that. So, we don't speculate. We just know the details of this is their haplogroup. And we finally got the DNA and from the father, and it was the same exact haplogroup. They were Native American. The tribe that they came from the Copper Canyon area. And because they were eventually consumed by the Aztec, their group no longer, is represented today, but they do know that they were present at that time. So it was Ruben Uriarte, we got involved, and he and Melanie worked very hard and found the group that, it's a museum that represents the Native American group he comes from, and they repatriated his remains back home.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. And, this guy no longer has to pose with cigarettes hanging out of his mouth or ball caps.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Yeah. And we forget that, when Lloyd had the Star Child skull, he treated it very well. But the minute we found out it was Native American, it's illegal to transport, display, own, or make money off of Native American remains. And so I was working with the Bureau of Native Americans, or Bureau of Indian Affairs out of Washington, D.C., and we're following all these protocols. It was a very complicated case, and I was very thankful it was over and that we did find the truth. We did right by Lloyd. We finished with exactly what he had hoped for, which was real science, finding out the truth, quote unquote, out of his book of the Star Child.
Excellent. Oh, and what a tribute to him.
It was nutty. It was so hard. It was like we were fighting. It seemed like, you just, after Lloyd was gone, people, and I get it. They don't want it to end. If they miss Lloyd, this was his work. I get having somebody else come in, but I didn't ask.
Right.
So, and I didn't realize all that was involved when I took the case. I'm just looking like, oh, yeah, I do skulls. At that point, I had about 100 DNA samples of elongated skulls that I had taken, forensically from Peru. So, yeah, I can do the Star Child. Sure, I can help you with that.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was stepping into. By the way.
Right. Little did you know. I'm seeing a note here that this was found in a mine cave outside of Delicias, Mexico.
Yes, Delicias, absolutely. And we're wondering why they were left in a cave. because that definitely was there where they both died, and it was not a ritual burial. So whatever it was, they were left, and we're just assuming that they couldn't participate or they couldn't make it. And back in those days, if you had a handicap and you couldn't produce, you didn't get to stick around. They didn't let you do that.
Right. Well, probably for some basic reasons like food supply. If you couldn't help with that, you didn't get your share or something.
Right. Absolutely. So, I just to look at the to realize all the fractures, and this was documented and actually examined. Each one was given a number. Each fracture was numbered through the Osteology Museum in Oklahoma City, which was the first place I took it. Took the Star Child and the companion skull, and they were just, even they kind of sat and looked at this poor woman's skull, because she had a extremely tough and battered life.
One can only imagine. No, and actually, that's probably not true. We probably can't imagine, but the isolation into the cave, and it was determined that was the site of their death, or were they moved there after death?
We can't determine. We only can go off of the oral history that was given to Melanie Young in Texas, and when she got the Star Child's skull, it was mounted on a plaque.
Wow.
And I know it had been on a mantle, and before that you can actually see where it was glued to another plaque, and it was a wall piece for a while, and it had been lacquered and shellacked and buffered out. I mean, this little poor skull.
Oh. Yeah, I'm just struck with the human aspect of that. What was her life? Oh, and of course that's an unknown, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know why they were left there, or even if that was their resting place. The teenager that allegedly first took the Star Child, they actually took all the bones of the companion and the little Star Child, and then
I did not realize there were more bones.
Yes, and there was this flash flood that went through the whole village, and all the teenager could find before they moved on, coming north, were the skulls and a couple other pieces, and she put that in a basket and just held on to that for a while. When the skeletons were first found, the story goes that the teenagers never told their parents. They would go because they were so fascinated. It was frightening, but they couldn't, they wanted it for themselves.
Right. That was in the 1930s, right?
Yes. Yep.
Wow. Yeah. So that was their own little, I don't know, club cave with the skulls. Do you know whether or not there were, you just referenced the fact that there probably were others than that young girl. She was not alone in this. The finder.
Correct. And there was, I guess, most of the teenagers, I don't have a number, but they said that there would be a lot of them, and, that they would go and, just kind of visit and look at them and, just find that, just that fascination. It's
sure.
Just, I remember being a teenager and poking dead things with sticks too, I guess.
Right. Sure. Yeah. And of course you're not going to go home and say, Mom and Dad, guess what we've been doing? It just doesn't work that way.
It's funny how teenagers still wouldn't go home and tell.
Yeah, exactly. It's a meme that maintains. I'm just flashing on the Stephen King story, Stand By Me. Is that what with the kids who find yes. So yeah, it's and that's fiction, of course, but So, okay, now, is this the part where we talk about the infamous now, alien mummy, Mexico City, May, several years ago, Jaime Maussan?
Oh, my gosh. I have never felt so sorry for anyone in my whole life.
Oh,
Because I like Jaime, and I did like Jaime, and I understood Jaime. The Latino community is a little different with their UFO belief. You can go down to Peru, and they'll talk very openly. There's no, stigma. Of course, it's real. They all know it's real. And it's the same, I think, in Mexico. They just have a different take. So here in the United States, we look upon that a little differently and maybe a little more scrutiny. And I get it. We're supposed to. But I just felt so sorry for him because, you kind of wanted to say, Jaime, you have all these friends out here. Why didn't you count on everyone first? And I remember even Richard Dolan taking so much heat because he was down there.
right. Yeah.
He was invited and he wasn't going to go. And I believe it was even Race Hobbs was with me. And I think we were telling him, of course you have to go. You're a historian. If this is big, one way or another, you need to be there for the good or the bad. If it's real or if it's not, Richard, being the historian, needed to be there and document it effectively or professionally. And, and it just went south so quickly. I was on the live feed and I was actually on Facebook giving minute to minute updates for the people that, just couldn't come on board as well. And within 15 minutes, these guys had already decoded. It was such a mess. And I knew they were right. I knew they were because I knew the science behind what they used. And I just couldn't believe that nobody had done that. Nobody in that group had done that. And for me, it was witnessing the first time the guys got their butts handed to them. In other words, it's like, yeah, we get that you're big names. We get that you're top investigators, but your word isn't good enough anymore. Right?
Right.
When you're putting out fact, we now have a whole group of people and a public that's, catching on to this passion, catching on to this as well. And we also have a group of people that Don Schmidt and Tom, were a little older with, including myself, these computer guys that understood, what are you talking about? You can't decipher it. I just did it in 3 minutes.
Wow.
So that was a big mistake. And I think it was the first time that these guys just really had to understand that you either get on board, raise the bar, or get out of the way.
Yeah, because then came the ridicule, and the increase in the giggle factor. I remember seeing online that to me was the absolute damning photograph. The glass case, the museum, and there was a woman standing on the other side of the glass case, and then of course again the label the museum had put beside this, Native American child, I believe, is what this turned out to be. And is that what you're talking about? The decoding of this little thing, or was it more scientific?
Yeah, they couldn't find because they were working with their good old boy network and their good old boys that they always work with. They didn't reach out to the new science. They didn't reach out to the things that were available today. And this is what I see constantly with people trying to prove a point when they haven't used correct forensic tools. So, you've got, these used car salesmen out of Peru
good.
saying, we've got, the latest evidence on the Star Child skull or whatever, or the elongated skulls, and they use, a popsicle stick in a baggie. It's not it's not good enough anymore. Yeah. No lab is taking that because these tools are now available to consumer level. And that's really the message I like to get out there to everyone. I teach a boot camp in Phoenix every year about forensics.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's through Phoenix MUFON, which, is probably the premier MUFON group ever in the world. Honestly, these people do it right. They're passionate. They get it. They're just amazing. And they offer a boot camp, and it's for investigators or people. You don't even have to be MUFON. And we go out there, and I go out there and I teach them, hey guys, these are the tools. This is what we're going to do. This is how I learned. Because there are no schools out there. There's no college for collecting evidence. There's no college course. There's college courses on how to process evidence, how to test it. Mm-hmm. But there's no courses out there. There's no college on how to collect it. So this is all something that we work, and I found the way to figure it out. And I love to tell people, and I share it. And we just need to get people on board that this is not hard. It's not rocket science. It is a little money. You have to buy the supplies, but anybody could do this. And this is how we figure it out. Each piece, this is the thought process we go through. When we find a piece of evidence, does it go in paper, plastic, glass, or tin?
Oh, wow.
This is what we do. This is how we figure that out. This is how I figured it out. And it's working. So I have a little over 300 forensic samples that have been tested and brought into labs. I don't use UFO labs. I kind of think that's like the prosecutor trying to win their case with only their witnesses.
Yeah, I can see that. Yes.
It's like, no. So, but I've never had a contamination, and I've never had one rejected. And so my containment is fine. And a lot of it is just getting that certification. The paperwork is really the certification. I went through the international certification. Mm-hmm. It's all about documentation and paperwork. They do not ever address paper or plastic. And I was disappointed in that first until I realized if I just settle down, I can figure this out myself. And I did. Wow. But it's the paperwork, which is your legal parameter, and how labs will not accept anything if not in proper containment, because it puts their lab at risk, especially with biological samples.
Sure. So in other words, the use of the paper, plastic, tin, or glass, that depends on what this, shall we just say, object is made of?
Yes. If you're picking up hair, you would put in a completely different containment than you would a tooth or a piece of cloth. And, how do you dry forensics without contaminating it? So if you have something that's wet, like somebody put blood on something, or even taking a DNA sample. It was so funny this last time because I did take some DNA when I was down there in Peru this very last time. And the last thing I did was I just looked at Jamie, and we're on camera, and I said, Jamie, I got to swab you. And he thought I was joking. And then I pull out the swab, and he opens his mouth, and I swab him, and I put it in. And afterwards, he's like, Chase, that's the smartest thing I'd ever seen done. He said, it didn't even occur to me because I also did myself. That way, if there's contamination, you can rule out. If anything is anomalous with this DNA, you rule out it's me and Jamie.
Got it. Oh my gosh. Oh, Sherlock Holmes.
So there's little things that, we figure out, and, we just get in the end. And, that would happen where I didn't have any contamination, thank goodness. But the lab says you didn't send your DNA. And I'm thinking, my DNA? And then it hit me. Oh my God, duh. And I never not sent that again. So, wow. Some of this is the mistakes I've made, but I love to get people excited, and I'll give them everything I know, and they can get even smarter than I figured this out. They can take it 10 times further than I did. Many people are much smarter than I am, but it's people have got to want to raise the bar out here and to do right by the witnesses, because really this isn't about showing off. Who do you show off to? Nobody cares about my samples. They really don't. Nobody has paid any attention with these samples, and we've changed the timeline on humanity. That's coming out shortly. But with some of the things that we've discovered, like the Paracas people are from Egypt. They're from the Middle East. What?
Whoa, Nellie. Oh, my gosh. Right? Egypt, seriously? Oh, my God.
Right. So, but, these really aren't making the big splashes yet. They're going to. But, it really is about the witnesses. And I owe that for people like Timothy that have invited me on these amazing adventures and have trusted me to do my job. He doesn't have to worry about samples because I've got it. And he trusts me completely. Chase, you've got, you know what you got? You need anything? Nope, I'm good. Go do your... And, to not let them down is everything to me. But it's also maybe, just maybe, we find one more little piece to the puzzle. And that's why I do what I do.
That's your passion. Wow. So let's go back into the origins of your interest in all of this. What would you say? One event, many events, observation? What sent you on this incredible chase?
It was
Chase?
Thank you. It was Eric Von Daniken reading his book as a teenager because he was asking questions I didn't even know you were allowed to ask. Who, in my mindset at the time, this little Mormon girl would never think to question anything. Like, you believe what you're told, you do the right thing, you stay compliant, you're a female, blah, 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 blah.
I've heard the phrase, keep sweet. Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
And I read a question, could this be? And I'm thinking, yes, it could. Oh my gosh. I had that question. That's an amazing question. And I just never forgot it. And there was, in a way, Eric Von Daniken's book gave me permission to be a little rowdy and to be the little girl in the back of the class that when they were talking about Moses and being lost for 40 years was smiling to herself thinking, yep, but this little girl would have tapped him in about 3 years and said, hey, Mo, can I see that map for a minute? Oh, yes. So it was permission to think out of the box. It was permission to, let my mind, when I thought of these things, actually come out of my mouth. It wasn't good for me personally with my family, but it was great for my personal interest.
Yeah, and you've obviously carried it. UFOs. Did you ever see a UFO?
I have. I've seen a lot of things that I would describe as UFO. I've had experiences that I'm actually talking about this year because thank goodness I'm not alone in this other experience. But I was with Chris Bledsoe and we were working. I asked him to help me with an investigation because there were 2 police officers involved that shot a service weapon, and they were getting a lot of, they had to report that because it was their service weapons, and they were getting a lot of teasing from the department. And Chris Bledsoe had lived in the town right next to where this was. So I brought him because he knew what it was like to lose everything, to be completely humiliated and accused of being a liar, and he's not. Reporting that event ruined his life until recently. You talk about somebody that's managed to rise above, and he has done that. He is a great example of how to get through this. And
right. For those who may not know, who are listening, can you give us like a tiny little 25-cent tour of that event, the Christopher Bledsoe event?
Yeah, it was way back in the day, and he was with his son, and they were fishing, and Chris left for a little bit, and there was all this event where he had something going on. His son and the people at the river had something going on. They all had this missing time. They come together and they call MUFON, and MUFON at the time had that very first STAR team, and they came out, and it was James Carrion and Lang, and they totally blew this whole case. You talk about trying to prove nothing happened, but they had a TV show at the time called What on Earth, and they called Chris and his son out as liars.
Oh, no.
On this TV show, and these guys had to go and live in this town. This kid's in high school, They ruined his life. God. And what happened to Chris after that is it's a story that would break your heart. And it's why we don't do this crap anymore. It's why we protect our witnesses. And it's why we as investigators will take the heat before we out our witnesses. It's the same thing. I have an incident in Tennessee in a cornfield.
Just let me interrupt real quickly. Sure. I cannot remember myself the geolocation of the Bledsoe incident.
He's in North Carolina.
Okay, North Carolina. All right. Thank you.
Yes. And he's like the most sincere, telling the truth. I investigated Chris for a couple of years after that. Many things have happened. I've witnessed all sorts of things on this property, including bunnies that we were petting and dealing with. And 15 minutes later, they were flat and their insides were gone and they were dead. It was just
my God,
nutty stuff. But we had a big experience where I'll be talking about that at the conferences. And this was something that was witnessed by 9 of us, thank goodness. And everybody's talking about it, thank goodness.
Yes.
But, that Tennessee case is something where, the witness, I wouldn't let him come out right now for anything. The crap I've taken personally, where people know I'm not a liar, it's just nutty. You get 1 or 2 people out there that, they get pissed off at you and they want to throw something at you. So Chase lied about that. I know it because I know it. I'm good. I know she did. No, you don't, because you haven't ever been there. You haven't talked to anyone. But this is one of the cases where if my witness wanted to come out, I wouldn't let him. They would rape him. We need to protect our witnesses. Why would I, if he needed to do this, I would give him the proper platform, but I would beg him not to go public for the simple fact that today's environment just eats you alive. They don't want to believe you unless they found it. So there's a whole little group out there, and it's kind of I kind of call them something, but I won't repeat that here. But it's kind of those. They're just the jilted almost. They're the group that is fighting to be recognized, and yet they don't do anything but blog and search socials. And then they pick on people that have been out here for 20 years. So it's I think ufology is going through a little shifting, and a sifting is probably the better word. And it needs to. And we've been here before. Of
the stuff that doesn't go through the flour sifter, the little things that are left. So you sift and you get the pure flour.
Well, I think we sift and we get the honest and we get the pure at heart and we get those that are in it to win it. And they're not the Kardashians that want to be famous for nothing.
Yeah.
They're out here, they're putting their money where their mouth is. They're walking the talk. And the Linda Moulton Howells, the people that, are out here with boots on the ground and sleeping in their car and eating granola bars for 2 days to, because that's the only money they can invest at the time, and that's the best they can do. But they went anyway. Those are the heroes in all of this work that we're doing. And, to let some of these people disparage, or even Lou Elizondo, where we started, Carol.
Yes.
This man's a veteran. He's a effing hero. I almost dropped the F-bomb. I won't do that.
Oh, no. We'd be shocked.
I know, right? He's an effing hero. This guy is a veteran. Be very careful coming after somebody's career that has done what he has done for the for the liberties and freedoms that we have. And it isn't just liberties and freedom. The fact that we can walk around free today because of the terrorism that I know for a fact that man was part of. When Mattis and Lou Elizondo were in a combat zone, I know exactly where they were. I know what was going on at the time because my son was there.
Wow.
And I'm telling you, they need to be very careful raping this veteran for sport.
I'm sure there are bastions where they're so hidebound, so narrow-minded that will persist. It's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out, because how can, for instance, the last episode 2 of Unidentified, you have, what's his name? It's escaping me. He's the guy who repeatedly, in fact, I counted 7 times, he says it was raining UFOs. And
that was Kevin Day.
Yes, Kevin Day. Thank you. And when you and the fact that Chris Mellon is even on board is just staggering. All of this is. I promise you
that this latest accusation against Lou and To the Stars Academy will be settled. It will be settled in a big way. Like I said, I think sometimes the veterans like myself and Lou and Race, or some of the people, we've been out here for a while. We have one thing that some of these others don't have: patience. We have patience, and we're going to do it right, and we're not going to come out and prove anything until we're ready and we have it perfect. And we're not going to knee jerk, and we're not going to do these things. But I'm telling you, Lou Elizondo 100% is the real deal. We may not like the fact that we have a bunch of spooks talking and bringing our UFO fields forward. Personally, I'm grateful. I've been waiting for these people to come out and help us.
Well, it totally, and here we are, and so it begins. It's the substantiation. There are a lot of people who will take the fact that the military that all of this is coming down as a legitimizing of the entire topic. And guess what? Legitimate or not, we're out of time. This has been so amazing. I'll hang up and go where you are, and we'll go have coffee or something. But thank you.
I'm not joking, Carol. You are amazing. This was so fun. I can't believe 2 hours is gone. It feels like 15 minutes. You are such a great host, and thank you.
Whoa, Nellie! Well, you made my day, lady. That's incredible to hear from somebody I admire so much.
It's been an honor.
Oh, and I have a show coming up on KGRA, Behind the Obsidian Curtain, and I'm hoping I can snag you. What a grab you are. And thank you. Continue what you're doing, the good work, the good fight with all your smarts. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, in case you have never seen a photograph of Chase, boy, photogenic just doesn't do it. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us on KGRA, Alan B. Smith's Paranormal Now. This has been Carol Carl sitting in for Alan, and we'll paraphrase kind of what Alan closes with: let the mystery take you.